Can you use photographs for your urban sketching? Well, the answer is a clear no. But can you use photograph to help with the urban sketching? Clearly, we can use it as a tool. Let's go. So how do we use photograph or the camera as a tool for urban sketching? The problem with photograph is that it flattens the information from 3D to 2D, and we lose a lot of information. And in the process of losing the information, and if we cannot get the information back, then we will not be able to sketch what we see, because what we are seeing through a photograph is compressed. When you used the photograph for your sketching purposes, what information do you lose? Well, if you have been following my video tutorials, you will know that I talk about the 7 ingredients of urban sketching. You lose all the information in the 7 ingredients basically. The first one, of course, is space. In space, urban sketching, you're trying to understand the distance between the foreground, midground, and background. How far apart are those planes? In a photograph, oftentimes you don't really get to know it precisely, or even sometimes you have to make wild guess with regards to space. The second, of course, is lines. You will lose information on lines, especially when lines or goes into shadow and they are behind certain object and you cannot walk around to see precisely what the lines are doing. Using camera, your shapes may also be distorted. Specifically because camera functions very differently from your eye. They do have the ability to stretch, especially in the corner, to make objects straight, and when they do that, some of the images could be really distorted. Colors can also be inaccurate. It can be saturated, or it can also become more black and white. Some settings on your camera allows you to play with the kind of color setting that is not real but creative, and that really could be a problem for you as well as a urban sketcher. One of the video I talk about values, the ingredient of values. It is actually very important to be able to use the camera as a tool, but if you rely only on the camera as a source of information for your sketch, you may end up making wrong choices if you are trying to reflect reality. But of course, it is a tool and it should be used as such. Values is very useful because using the noir or black and white setting of a camera, you'll be able to understand the gradation of values from one shape to the next, and you can use that to actually help you with the sketch design as well. Texture, the ingredient of textures, is actually one of those that is extremely useful when it comes to using the camera as a tool. You can use the camera to capture texture, especially if you're going to add texture later, or at a later stage of your sketch. It becomes one of those that can help you remember what are the details, and you can zoom in, or you can walk close enough to look at a detail, take a photograph, and then come back out and then understand how you might want to approximate the texture of what you're sketching. I left the last one, the 7th ingredient, to now. It's the ingredient of form. Form is the 3-dimensionalness of an object from a flat 2-dimensional object or shape. And in that case, when you look at a form, this is actually where I think photograph really smash the information, and as in you lose most information on form. Unless you know the object intimately, you will not be able to recreate it because you don't have the reference in your head from a photograph itself. Photograph is flattened, you lose the information, it is lost. For example, you don't really know how far the spout is from the top of the kettle. That information is lost looking at just this photograph in that sense. So that's why there are certain art teachers that says don't sketch from photograph, but then again you might be throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and by not using the camera or photography at all. So in summary, there you have it. You should know when and when not to use a photograph for your sketch. If you are doing a urban sketch and urban sketching and you are using a photograph as the only source and you're not on site, then that's a no-no. You're breaking the manifesto. You're not doing it in the spirit of urban sketching. So don't do it. But if you're on site and you're trying to capture a scene that's fairly complicated with people moving and traffic and so on, and you're sitting there and you want to remember how a specific person was in the scene, you take a photograph and you can use it as a reference to your overall sketch. The bulk of your sketch is still urban sketching, as in you're capturing the essence of the place, but you use your photograph to remember a few little detail, the texture and some of the shadow, and even shadow would have shifted as well. That is extremely useful as a reference and as a tool to help you with your urban sketch. So there you have it. I hope you have learned something from this video. And wherever you are, this is Whee Teck out. Bye.